time and money. It's going to save you a lot of stress. And you may not see it at the time, but you will see it later. And it pays dividends.
Exactly. And I can understand how people feel that way. I felt that way for a short time, where I felt like, oh, I need to learn how to make my own website because it's too expensive. But then, after literally crying every day for a month over my website, I said, fine, I'm just going to hand it off to someone. I have a great website developer, and she just blew me away. And then it was relief. And then it didn't feel like I wanted to quit every day. Whenever I was able to release that to the actual expert.
Yeah. And it's sage advice. So, people that are doing that, stop doing it, because you are going to end up taking years off of your life by trying to do everything yourself.
Exactly.
So as far as that kind of leads us to my next question topic here. What are some support and resources that a new entrepreneur should be looking for that's going to help better position themselves for success?
A good website developer, a virtual assistant for the smaller tasks that just need to get done. I heard recently, and I think that this is a common thing amongst entrepreneurs, that if something is worth less than $25 an hour, outsource it. So really, and people change the actual amount, and it really depends on where you are. Right. But if it's not worth your time, then don't spend time on it. The other piece is knowing, so being able to outsource those smaller tasks, being able to learn how to do the basic tasks that you're going to be using over and over again. There are a lot of resources to use, and sometimes the amount of things that you feel like you need to learn is overwhelming. So really taking an inventory of the things that are possible to learn and what are the immediate needs. So really focusing on those immediate needs, and it really depends on the entrepreneur. I really can't give a list other than having a website, having a Facebook group, and having someone to go to for some advice and some kind of direction. But one of the things that I wanted to also add to that whole beginning entrepreneur, advice is Brian Smith, the co-founder of Uggs. He said recently, he has a book, and it's the bottom line is that it says, your business is not an adult. It doesn't start out as an adult. You start out as a baby. Your business is a baby. You have to do everything for it. You have to nurture it and watch it grow, and basically put everything, all your time, lose sleep, all your energy into that baby of a business, and you watch it grow through the stages. That all of this stuff about 7 days to launch a course, 7 days to get 6 figures. Yeah, that's true for a very, very small percentage of people. But for the most of us, we have to really nurture it and walk through those steps and those challenges in order to get there.
Yeah, some very good points there. So now we're kind of in a very unique, what I call a unique time in society, where I think a lot of people are starting to put their personal values, their belief systems, even going to the extent of their spiritual beliefs, if you will, into their business. Mm-hmm. And used to that was sort of taboo, that you sort of kept those two things separate. Mm-hmm. How do you personally feel about that, and how do you incorporate those or not?
Well, I think that is great. It's nice to have that freedom to be able to express ourselves and express who we are and what our beliefs are within our platform. So, as you know, I'm a Christian, and ultimately, I have a twofold goal. One of them is to become the background course writer for entrepreneurs. But the other side of that is to write courses for men and women who want to do online Bible studies. And so there's in some ways I feel like they have to be separate, but I'm really working on kind of uniting the same goal within the same platform. And it's not easy to decide how to do that, but I do feel like it's more feasible now, and it reflects more of who I am to be able to establish that belief system within my platform. And you know what? If someone, that's the difficult thing, is that whenever I'm working with an entrepreneur, I'm not trying to add biblical reasoning into that. And same thing on the other side is that if someone's doing a Bible study, then they are two separate things in a sense. It's not like I'm trying to mash them together, but at the same time being fully who I am, which is a Christian. So I want to be able to express that. And I do think that, I'm working on building that connection a little bit better, that platform a little bit better.
Yeah, and I very much appreciate and love what you were saying there, because with my practice, I don't beat around the bush. I tell people up front exactly where I stand, and it's really is a core belief system in my business as well. Mm-hmm. That the things that I believe spiritually are going to drive everything that I do in business, and you can't take one piece out of the puzzle and the puzzle work. So it's like what you see is what you get. This is what you get, and I like the fact that we're at a place, especially nowadays, that people that want to do business with someone like that, it's right there and it's very transparent. And if you don't want to do business, that's okay.
Yes.
It's okay, because there's somebody else that obviously is not going to be on the same page as you are. And maybe that's a better fit for somebody else, because if we try to force that relationship with someone, we're not going to get, we're not going to have a good business relationship, if we try to do that, because at some point it will fall apart. So it's, keeping those things out of business, in my opinion, at least, for what that's worth, my 2 cents is that, you don't want to keep that out of your business, because, eventually it will fall apart, if you do so.
Exactly. And that's another thing about young entrepreneurs, is that to really know that you don't have to help everyone, and you aren't really qualified to help everyone. That there are other people out there that can do what you can't do and support the people you can't. So even though we have a tendency to want to help everyone and do everything for everyone and help this person with that, and I mean, who knows? I've had so many people ask me to write all kinds of things that I don't write, and I've had to learn how to say no. And it's not an easy thing for me, because I want to support everyone and I want to help everyone. But I have to say, you know what? It's not a part of my box of curriculum, online courses, so I can't do it. Sorry.
Yeah, and giving yourself permission to say no is very powerful, and it's very empowering, because no is not a bad thing. It's really not a bad thing. And like you were pointing out, there's only so many hours in the day that we can help somebody. And we have to mature ourselves in business to realize that because there's only so many hours in the day, we have to find the ones that we are most appropriate for.
Exactly.
And work with those people. So what is something that maybe earlier in life you should have done that you didn't do, that you've learned now you should have? What's something?
I think that I kind of mentioned it, speaking up for myself, being confident in who I am and what I was made for, and being able to say no. Really, those are the key things that I've struggled with. And it's all about growth. It's not like I'm going to tell a 20-year-old to do all these things and expect it to change. It's about the growth and the stepping forward and knowing that, I need to say this. I need to say no. I need to be confident, but it's not going to happen just because I say I need to do it. It is really a process of learning who you are and becoming more of who you are. It's not going to happen just because you say, suddenly I'm confident. Yeah, that's great. That's great that you say that. But are you really? And what are the steps that we need to take in order to do that? It's not going to happen overnight. It's just that process and that growth. So I feel like now I'm at that point more in my life where I'm like, you know what? This is really who I am. I'm confident in what that is and what that looks like, and I know where I'm going.
Oh, very good. Excellent. So for a few minutes here, we'll kind of focus maybe a little bit more on the personal side of the questioning, a little less business, but business will be in there. What hurdles did you personally face, especially having been a veteran? What hurdles did you face when transitioning out and going into entrepreneurship, and how did you overcome that?
Well, I had quite a few years between when I got out of the Marine Corps and started to become an entrepreneur. I got out of the Marine Corps with the full intent to get my bachelor's in and become a teacher, become an English teacher. So and again, it wasn't like I was on the exact path that I planned on after the Marine Corps. I got out in 2003. I was still I didn't never have the digis. So I was like, I'm super old school. I had like black combat boots, black jungle boots. I kind of was, part of that old school generation, I guess. Now that I say it, I'm like, I feel like super old. People are like, I see all these new Marines and I see their digis and I'm like, oh, that would have been cool if I would have had those, but I didn't. But the idea is that, the path that I knew I was going to get out, I knew I was using every cent of my GI Bill to go to college, to become a teacher. Some of those things changed, but, I'm going to tell you the truth that the ultimate thing that changed and led me on this entrepreneur path is my divorce. I am divorced. I have 2 little girls. And I realized that within the constraints of any 9-to-5 job, I was not going to be able to provide for my girls the way that I wanted to. I want to be self-sufficient. I desire to be, almost self-made. I want to become more than I ever thought that I could. And you know what? Through that process of my divorce and some challenges throughout the last few years, I realized I am capable of so much more than I ever gave myself credit for. I never realized that I could do all the things that I've done. I've overcome so many challenges, and really simply taking care of 2 little girls and knowing, gosh, we've moved 10 times in the past 7 years. Do I really want to live like this? No, I don't. I want them stable and secure and having a good young life and some place to come back to after college, to come visit. It's the same place. And I'm my number one why is to have a place for my girls to always call home.
Yeah.
And that is number one more than anything else. That's the thing that keeps me up at night going, how am I going to do this? And how am I not going to fail so that I can provide that for my girls? Because right now it's hard. And sometimes I'm like, why in the world did I do this? I don't know why I did this. But I think about, well, it's because I couldn't do it in a regular job.
Yeah, very well put. Very well put. It's an amazing story there. So when you were starting your entrepreneurial journey, if you maybe talk me through what that looked like, how'd you get started?
Well, I decided after 5 years of teaching that I was done being in the classroom for those reasons that I mentioned, that I realized I was capable of so much more than I was doing within the classroom setting. Mm-hmm. I realized I was super passionate about writing well-developed curriculum, and I had no idea what that looked like. I didn't know, am I going to go get a job as a curriculum developer for a corporation, or am I going to become a program director who's creating curriculum.